The boy came to his new school on the first day wearing tattered shoes. Everyone mocked him, but when they saw who came to pick him up from school, they couldn't believe their eyes. A picturesque village, shrouded in morning mist, suddenly came to life as the roar and whistle of shells echoed around. "Get down, Germans," shouted Jamie, an 11-year-old boy, and he rolled into a ditch, taking cover from an imaginary air raid. The sounds of explosions erupted around him, smoke enveloped everything, creating the illusion of a real battle. The boy's heart was pounding as he landed on the soft ground of the ravine. Barely recovering from the initial shock, he heard the sounds of machine gun fire, growing louder and more intense. Ahead, through the smoke, the outlines of tanks appeared, and behind him, against the backdrop of blazing haystacks, the village could be seen. "Surrender, hands up," someone shouted with a German accent, but in French. Fully immersed in his role, Jamie responded with the bravery typical of war movie heroes. The Gauls never abandoned their own. "Take this, fascist grenade." With these words, the boy rushed forward, pretending to pull the pin from a grenade. "Cut." "That's a wrap," the director's voice suddenly called out. Jamie stopped abruptly and fell to the ground, breathing heavily and trying to catch his breath. The fifth day of filming had been as intense as all the previous ones, yet incredibly thrilling. The boy loved cinema with all his heart and already saw himself as a great actor, although this was only his first role. The experience on set revealed to him how challenging an actor's work could be. Yesterday, they had to start filming long before dawn to capture the first rays of the rising sun, painting the sky in soft pink hues. The day before, the shooting had dragged on until late at night. They were rehearsing a complex dialogue that Jamie had learned, but which required maximum concentration and immersion in the character. Despite the fatigue and lack of sleep, the boy could not imagine another life for himself. Every frame, every scene brought him not only new challenges, but also an incredible sense of happiness from realizing that he was part of a big and important process. Filmmaking, as it seemed to him, was real magic, allowing viewers to transport to other worlds and other realities. "Are you planning to study at all?" He suddenly heard a familiar voice behind him, and at that moment, a large hand landed on his shoulder. "Why study?" "I want to get married," laughed the boy, looking up at the director who had approached him. "You're wrong, kid. Wives are nothing but trouble and ruin." "I know from experience," remarked the man. "And besides, why don't you keep your word? We had a deal. You can't imagine whom I had to call to transfer you to the second shift at school so you could balance filming and studying. And today I was told you haven't shown up there for 4 days. Your dad will never understand or appreciate this. You're not only letting yourself down. I gave him my word. So, come on, get moving and go study." "I won't make it in time," the boy tried to protest, but his words were in vain. The director was an authority to everyone, and all obeyed him without question. The director, a stern-looking man with silver strands in his dark hair, saw Jamie not only as a young actor but also as a commitment to his father. They stood at the edge of the huge film set, where another reality was hidden behind the scenes: the school bench, the textbooks Jamie had been stubbornly ignoring for the past few days. "Listen, I don't like being strict, but you chose this path yourself. As an actor, you must be able to balance different roles, and not just on stage. School is important, Jamie. You need to understand that every missed day puts you behind your peers. Not studying means closing doors that can only be opened with knowledge." Jamie lowered his head, understanding the seriousness of the situation. The director was right. He couldn't afford to choose between cinema and education. He needed to find a way to handle both. Jamie nodded, feeling a new wave of determination rise within him. From that moment on, he promised himself that he would fight for every role, whether at school or on screen. Watching the boy walk away, the director thought about his father, Marcus. Many years ago, they both enrolled at the same university, he in the directing department, and Marcus studied acting. They met in the long corridors of the educational institution amidst the chaos of the first day. Back then, the young actor, full of determination and enthusiasm, literally bumped into the future director, causing him to fall and knock out a tooth. The boy, not even thinking to apologize, with his audacity, already made it clear that he was destined to become a star. "Hey, do you happen to know where they teach acting here?" he asked, dusting himself off and getting up from the floor. The director wanted to give the impudent boy the scolding, but as soon as he raised his hand, the boy suddenly seriously raised a finger and declared, "Wait! You have no right to spoil the extraordinary beauty of a future national treasure." These words diffused the tense situation, and they burst out laughing. Since then, their friendship only grew stronger, intertwining with their careers, even when life's paths led them in different directions. Now, looking at his old friend's son, the director couldn't help but notice the same traits, the same confidence and fearlessness that had once impressed him so much in his father. Just like his dad, he smirked to himself. Jamie, despite his young age, already showed the talent and charisma needed for an actor, and the director felt proud to help the boy on his way to the world of cinema. He went about his business, still thinking about Jamie and his father. He walked slowly, immersed in his memories. Thoughts of the past made his heart beat faster. He recalled his younger years when, together with Jamie's father, they were on the verge of a revolution in the world of theater. Back then, they staged experimental productions that they believed could change the entire world of art. One such production was a play called Echoes of Immortality, set in a mystical forest where the trees could speak and the wind acted as an intermediary between the worlds of the living and the dead. They used innovative sound effects at the time to create the illusion of talking trees and special lighting techniques to represent the transitions between worlds. The stage was designed as a real forest with realistic decorations, artificial trees covered in moss and hanging vines. The wind rustled the leaves, created with the help of powerful fans hidden among the decorations. Each tree was equipped with speakers through which pre-recorded voices played, creating the impression that nature around had come alive. The main characters, a traveler played by Marcus, Jamie's father, and the ghost of an ancient poet played by him, met at the border of these worlds. Their dialogues were filled with philosophical reflections on life, death, and the immortality of the soul. "What are you seeking in this forgotten world, wanderer?" asked the ghost, his voice echoing throughout the forest. "I seek answers that only the dead can provide," the traveler replied, his voice firm and confident. "The dead speak only to those who are ready to listen," the ghost said wisely. "Listen to the wind, it carries the voices of past ages." The audience was amazed, some even cried, moved by the depth and innovation of the performance. The applause that followed the show was loud and prolonged. Gradually, thoughts of the past turned to reflections on the present. He realized that the dreams he and Marcus had of big stages and applause had now passed on to Jamie. He felt like he had handed the baton to the next generation, which filled him with a mix of pride and nostalgia. He wondered if it was time for him to return to experimental theater, possibly with Jamie, to continue what they had started and perhaps open new horizons in art. He reminisced about those days when he and Jamie's father staged experimental productions together, dreaming of changing the world of art. He remembered how they dreamed of big stages and applause, which now seemed to have been passed to Marcus. Meanwhile, Jamie was hurrying to his new school. "Hurry up," shouted the driver, noticeably irritated. "I don't have time to wait for you. I still need to pick up your father. He's flying in today and going straight to the shoot. Poor guy doesn't even have time to catch his breath, and here you are with your problems." "Just a moment, I can't find my shoes," the boy fussed, turning over the scattered things on the floor. "Never mind, let's go as is, we'll find them later," the driver said, grabbing the boy by the hand and pulling him to the car without wasting any more time. "But I'm wearing ones with holes," the boy protested, trying to free his hand. "It's fine, the weather is good today, you won't get sick," the driver declared decisively, starting the engine. The car jerked forward, and Jamie, unable to find his shoes, decided to make peace with the situation. The windows in the car were down, and the cool spring air filled the cabin. As they moved, the views of the country roads changed to more familiar cityscapes. "If I were 18, no one would say a word to me. But now it's all about school, school. Who needs it? I can read, I can count my earnings. Why do I need history and geography? If I want to travel, I'll buy a plane ticket, end of story, the boy complained along the way, not wanting to go to his new school. Then he thought about his family and his famous father. The boy loved Marcus and admired his work in the films. I wish I could act like that, he thought, watching his father's performances again. The only thing that saddened their relationship was his father's constant business trips. He was a well-known, in-demand actor, constantly invited to shoot in different countries. The boy's mother also worked a lot, performing in a local theater, and was almost never home in the evenings. From early childhood, his life had been between nannies, film sets, and theater backstage. Everyone seemed to think his fate was already decided. There was no escaping this bohemian life. By the time they reached the school, classes had already started. Reluctantly, the boy got out of the car and trudged to the new school, cursing his age under his breath. As he passed through the school gates, Jamie felt the eyes of others on him. In his old, holey shoes, his socks soaked with morning dew were visible. His feet were cold, and every step reminded him that he was an outsider here. The school corridors were buzzing with activity. Students were laughing, exchanging books, discussing homework, but all conversation ceased when Jamie walked in. He felt the stares, heard the whispers. Look at the new kid, the walls seemed to whisper. And every whisper was a sting to his heart. He walked past the lockers and headed towards his classroom, trying not to raise his eyes. As he entered the classroom, the teacher, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, smiled at him. "You're the new student, right? My name is Mrs. Gray. I hope you'll like it here. Why are you late?" Jamie hesitated, trying to come up with a suitable excuse. My car broke down," he lied, looking down at his shoes. Mrs. Gray looked at his shoes carefully, then smiled warmly. "Well, it happens. Please take a seat," she pointed to an empty spot by the window. "And don't worry, you're safe here." Jamie walked to his seat, feeling the tension in his body ease a little. Looking out the window, he saw the sunlight playing on the leaves of the trees and for a moment imagined his father getting off the plane and heading to the film set, ready for a new role. If only I could do that, instead of these lessons, he thought, his heart filled with quiet hope. Just look at his shoes. "Did you escape from the garbage dump?" suddenly shouted one of his new classmates, drawing everyone's attention. The words hit Jamie like a sharp cold rain. He couldn't find the strength to respond, trying to hide his embarrassment and hurt. His heart was pounding, and his thoughts were swirling. The rest of the day, Jamie tried to ignore the mockery of his new classmates. He reminded himself of his future acting career, of how one day these same people would be proud to have studied with him. "When my movie comes out, they'll be asking for my autograph and proud to have been in the same class as such a great actor," he comforted himself, feeling tears well up in his eyes. The break brought no relief. Usually, on the set, actresses treated him with sweets, but here in the cafeteria, he was met with only a plate of sausage and a suspicious piece of bread. Jamie longed for the easy and joyful times on set, where every step was accompanied by attention and care. The second lesson, history, was no less dreary. The teacher rambled on about ancient civilizations, but Jamie couldn't concentrate. The bits of history he needed for his roles, he knew by heart, and all other information seemed unnecessary and useless. "How long do I have to put up with this?" he thought. "Who needs these facts and figures?" He certainly would never need them, at least not in such quantity. And what he needed for a role, he could learn instantly, like the back of his hand. While the teacher enthusiastically lectured at the board about the ancient world, her voice, full of enthusiasm, echoed in the classroom like a distant echo. Jamie, sitting at the back of the class, seemed to disconnect from reality. He stared out the window, where the soft rays of the sun played on the glass, creating a warm glow. But inside, the boy didn't feel so cozy and bright. His thoughts were far from history lessons. He remembered how his mother rehearsed roles in the kitchen of their small apartment. Her voice, filled with passion and power, echoed throughout the house, so their neighbors didn't need to buy theater tickets to enjoy the art. These moments were full of life and magic, which contrasted so starkly with his current mood. Jamie thought about how his parents met. Marcus was always an unrivaled storyteller, especially when it came to the story of their love with Elena. One evening, when Jamie asked how his parents met, Marcus smiled, recalling those times, and began the tale. It was 1985, and George, your future director, and I were studying at the same acting school. George always stood out with unparalleled talent and was already a true leader in our study group. But the thing is, he also had a reputation as a coveted bachelor and never missed a chance to win the heart of each new student. Marcus paused for a moment, as if diving back into those days. Your mom, Elena, came from another city to study acting. She was not only beautiful but also extraordinarily talented. From the first day she set foot in our school, George decided she would be his. And, it seemed, he was succeeding. They had been dating for about a month when I first truly spoke to Elena. It happened during one of the school rehearsals, where we accidentally stayed behind alone. We talked about theater, life, dreams. I saw in her not just a charming girl, but a deep, thoughtful person, something that George, perhaps, didn't notice, flirting with everyone around. My friendship with Elena grew long and genuine, and one day, when George canceled another date due to his directing duties, I suggested to Elena that we spend the evening together, just as friends. We went to a local art exhibition, and that evening something special happened between us. Marcus sighed, a spark of old passion flickering in his eyes. When George found out that we were spending time together, he flared up and accused me of betrayal. It was a harsh conversation. We quarreled, and I even thought we might never be friends again. But Elena made her choice. She told George that she loved me, not him. It was a difficult moment for all of us. Over time, George accepted her decision and even apologized for his behavior. We became friends again, although it took time to fully restore the trust. Jamie had heard this story many times. At that moment, he saw his father and mother in a new light, not just as parents, but as people who had gone through their own trials and tribulations. And now, my little actor, you know that love sometimes requires courage and the willingness to fight for your feelings. Never be afraid to fight for what truly matters. That strict and demanding director could have been my father if things had turned out differently, thought James. The boy tried to imagine how his life would have been then. Perhaps in such a world, all the teenage roles would have been his. Maybe the director would have made a film where Jamie was the main star. In that case, he might already be famous and respected by his peers, instead of being the object of their mockery. In such a reality, perhaps there would not be endless business trips of his real father, and they could spend much more time together, enjoying simple joys, like fishing on a quiet lake. But, pondering all these alternatives, Jamie still came to the conclusion that he loved his real father too much to wish for a different fate. His father, with his imperfections and almost constant absence from home, was still his hero. This man inspired him and helped him strive for more and not fear obstacles. Jamie was distracted from his sad thoughts by a note that fell to the floor next to him. He picked it up and, unfolding the neatly folded paper, read, "Hi. Don't pay attention to the boys. I've been studying with them since the first grade and I can confidently say they're fools. You're new, so they pick on you. If you want, let's be friends." The text was written in neat, beautiful handwriting that immediately caught Jamie's attention. Looking up and around the classroom, he noticed a small, skinny girl who smiled and winked at him. Her kind gesture instantly warmed his heart, filled with anxiety and loneliness. The girl's name was Anna. They spent the entire next recess talking about all sorts of things. It turned out they had a lot in common. Anna was also into swimming and had even advanced 10 levels further in his favorite video game than Jamie himself. This impressed the boy, and he felt the first ray of light appear in his school life. "Why don't you like history? I saw you sitting there absent-mindedly and not following the lesson," Anna asked as they sat on a bench in the schoolyard. "It's interesting and informative. Our teacher knows it inside out. Sometimes she brings up such interesting facts, you'll be amazed." Jamie shrugged, feeling a bit awkward. I don't even know, he mumbled. What I need for work, I learn instantly, but all these dates. Who needs them? And besides, I haven't been to history class for a long time, I'm behind in the subject. Well, that's not a problem, Anna smiled. If you want, I'll help you catch up. It's my favorite subject. How about tomorrow, after classes? Jamie froze for a moment, feeling his heart beat faster. Thoughts swirled in his head. Suddenly, he found that his interest in the subject began to awaken, not only because of history itself, but also because this sweet and smart girl offered to help him. He felt a desire to learn more, not only to improve his grades, but also to spend more time with his new friend. I'll try, he replied, smiling back and feeling his cheeks blush. As soon as the final bell rang, signaling the end of the school day, a large black SUV drove up to the school building, immediately attracting the attention of everyone present. Teachers and administrators exchanged worried glances. Could it be an inspection? They whispered, looking at the car with tinted windows. The SUV door opened, and a tall, handsome man got out. It was Marcus Levin, a famous actor whose name everyone knew. His military roles impressed many, and his masculine charisma made him a public favorite. The students whispered, pointing at him, and the teachers tried to maintain professional composure, although their eyes clearly expressed admiration. All attention was riveted to this film star, but the real shock came when a small, unremarkable boy in ragged shoes approached the SUV. The scene looked almost surreal. I brought your shoes, Marcus said, addressing the boy with tenderness in his voice. You shouldn't forget them on the set. Take care of your things. I didn't have time. The shoot dragged on. I was rushing to school, the boy replied, his voice sounding nonchalant, but a slight embarrassment was visible in his eyes. How was your first day at the new school? Marcus inquired, his eyes seeking an answer not so much in the words as in the expression on his son's face. Not bad, it'll do. The boy smiled, winking at the girl standing nearby and watching them. Turning to her, he said, Meet my dad, Marcus Levin, a famous actor. Want his autograph? The girl, who was of course Anna, seemed impressed. Yes, I recognized you. Of course, I want one. She handed Marcus a piece of paper and a pen. Then, with a smile, she added, Just don't make your son late tomorrow. And tell the director that we need to catch up on history. With these words, she disappeared around the corner. Marcus smirked as he watched Anna go, then turned to his son. I like your new friends, he said, getting into the car. Let's go, he commanded the driver, and the SUV smoothly pulled away. When they returned home and entered the house, a warm light filled the space, creating an atmosphere of coziness and warmth. They were greeted by Mom, Elena, who had been eagerly awaiting their return. Her eyes sparkled with joy as she hugged each of them. Finally, you're here. How was your day? What good things happened? Her voice was full of genuine care. Marcus, still in his coat, smiled in response, his eyes shining with satisfaction. Everything went great, he noted. We shot 3 scenes on the first take today, can you imagine? And the director George was impressed with our son's performance. And he, in turn, seems to have made a new friend at school. Elena turned to Jamie, her eyes twinkling with interest. Is she pretty? She asked with a smile. Jamie, blushing, looked down at the floor in embarrassment. Yeah, she's all right, he whispered, his cheeks turning even redder. Elena laughed and took his hand. Well, thank goodness. I have good news for you too. Our theater is going on a break for a few months. So now I'm free and at your complete disposal. Her voice was full of joy and anticipation. Marcus put his things down and hugged Elena, his eyes also glowing with happiness. That's great. I have some time off too, he said. So, how about we all go fishing together? Jamie, who was listening to his parents, suddenly perked up. Fishing with his parents had been one of his dreams, especially now that they could all spend time together. If it's only for a short while, the boy eagerly picked up the idea, already anticipating the adventure. I still need to catch up on history. The family gathered in the living room, discussing their plans for the upcoming weekend. Energy and excitement filled the room, and each family member felt grateful for these moments together. It was an evening of new beginnings and renewed promises, where all concerns about school and work took a back seat to family happiness and the anticipation of shared adventures. On the quiet river, where the water sparkled under the bright sun, a small boat rocked gently. In it sat the family, enjoying rare moments of peace and unity. Elena, a slender and beautiful woman in a large straw hat, stretched out her bare legs, dipping them into the cool water. And no tanning salon needed. Calm, smooth, beautiful, she happily noted, enjoying the warm rays of the sun playing on the water's surface. Marcus, a solid man with a fishing rod in his hands, suddenly shouted, "Got one." The whole family instantly reacted, jumping up to help him pull in the catch. But to everyone's surprise, the hook held only an old, tattered boot. "It's so nice that your parents let you come fishing with us," Jamie said to Anna, smiling warmly at her. "Of course, it's nice," the girl replied. "I may be against killing fish, but with your luck, I'm sure not a single one will get hurt. And besides, I didn't come here to have fun, but to help you with history." Anna took a deep breath and continued. "Did you know, for example, that fishing is over 10,000 years old?" And Anna told the gathering about an amazing artifact in the depths of the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston that tells of ancient times when art and everyday life were closely intertwined. "We were there with my dad," Anna said. "There's an amazing object, a wine cup, dated around 510 to 500 BC, depicting a scene from the life of ancient people related to fishing." Anna recalled that the cup is made of clay and decorated with intricate drawings characteristic of the ceramics of that era. On one side, a boy is magnificently depicted, crouched on a rock. In his right hand, he holds a simple fishing rod, while his left hand confidently grips a basket. This scene is perhaps one of the earliest artistic depictions of the fishing process, making the cup not only a work of art, but also a valuable historical document. And below, under the water's surface, there's a rounded object with a hole on top. Anna continued her fascinating story. Scientists believe it might have been a fish trap designed to hold fish after they got caught. This object conveys the complexity and thoughtfulness of fishing techniques developed in ancient times. "And how do you know all this?" Jamie remarked in awe, impressed by her knowledge. "I just love history," Anna smiled. Marcus, observing their conversation, suddenly shook the boot over the water and joked, "So what are we going to do with this boot now? It seems fish are definitely not in our cards today. Your friend probably sends them special ultrasonic signals so they don't dare approach our boat." "You're so insightful," Anna laughed. "Even I didn't know I had such hidden talents." "Well, how about we head home for some ice cream?" Marcus suggested, and the whole family joyfully responded to his proposal. That day on the river wrapped Jamie and Anna's hearts with the rays of warm sunshine, the rustle of waves, and unforgettable hours spent in each other's and Jamie's family's company. These moments reminded them of the immeasurable value of loved ones, the uniqueness of joyful moments, and the importance of cherishing every minute of life, filling it with meaning and love. Summer was still in full swing. The kids stood on the brink of new adventures and discoveries, where each new day could become the beginning of something magical and unpredictable. This is exactly what happened to them. One morning, filled with determination and curiosity, Jamie and Anna set off to explore the old forest on the outskirts of their small town. Their goal was to create a series of photographs for a school project assigned over the holidays, but deep down, both hoped for an encounter with something extraordinary. Armed with cameras, they ventured deeper into the forest, where the sunlight barely reached the dark moss underfoot, and each step was enveloped in the dense aroma of pines and fresh greenery. "Look, Jamie. Just look at this butterfly," exclaimed Anna, pointing at a bright blue butterfly perched on a flower. "It's beautiful," agreed Jamie, taking several shots. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the sky suddenly clouded over. The wind began to pick up, foretelling a storm. "We should head back before it starts raining," suggested Anna, glancing at the darkening sky. They turned back, But before they could take a few steps, they heard a frightened meow. Looking up, they saw a small kitten clinging to a branch high up in a tree. "Oh no! It needs help," exclaimed Anna. Jamie examined the tree, trying to find a safe way to climb. "I'll try to get it." "You stay here and guide me," he said, starting to climb carefully. Anna watched his every move anxiously. The branches occasionally creaked under Jamie's weight, but he slowly and surely made his way up. "You're almost there." "Be careful, Jamie," she shouted. Reaching the kitten, Jamie gently took it in his hands. The kitten meowed and trembled, but seemed to understand that it was being helped. "I got it, Anna. Let's head down," Jamie said joyfully. The descent was more challenging, as Jamie now had the kitten in one hand. But Anna guided him, telling him where to place his feet. As soon as they both reached the ground, the rain began to pour down. "We did it, Jamie." "You saved it," exclaimed Anna, hugging him and the kitten. They quickly headed to Jamie's house to shelter from the rain and discussed their adventure over a cup of hot tea. When Jamie and Anna, wet and cold but happy, entered Jamie's house with the kitten in their arms, Jamie's mom, Elena, met them at the door. Her initial look was one of concern over their soaked state, but then she saw the kitten. "Oh my goodness, what do you have there?" she exclaimed, noticing the small creature nestled in Jamie's arms. "Mom, it's a kitten. We found it in the forest. It was stuck in a tree," explained Jamie, carefully handing the kitten to his mom. Elena gently took the kitten, and its soft purring filled the quiet kitchen. Her expression softened as she stroked its wet fur. "It's so cute." "How did you rescue it?" she asked, laying the kitten on a warm towel. Jamie and Anna quickly recounted their adventure, and Elena listened, occasionally gasping at the most dangerous parts of the story. "You two are heroes," she said with a smile. "But what will we do with this little one now?" At that moment, Jamie's dad, Marcus, came in, tired after a long day at work. Seeing the kitten in his wife's hands, he raised his eyebrows in surprise. "And who is this little furball?" he asked, coming closer. "The kids rescued it. It was alone in the forest," explained Elena. Marcus reached out and gently petted the kitten's head. The kitten looked up at him with its big eyes and meowed softly. "Well, it seems we have a new family member," Marcus said thoughtfully, smiling. "What shall we name it?" Anna and Jamie looked at each other and laughed. "How about Hero? After all, it went through a real adventure before ending up here," suggested Anna. "Hero," Jamie repeated, looking at the kitten. "Perfect." And so, little Hero was warmly welcomed into the family. The evening passed in a joyful atmosphere, with each family member suggesting something for the care of the new pet, a bed, toys, and the first visit to the vet. Hugging Jamie, Anna whispered, "You're a real hero today, you know?" "We both are heroes," he replied, smiling. But the kids' summer adventures didn't end there. The summer holidays brought them not only an old shoe fished out of the river and a new friend named Hero, but also much more thrilling escapades involving mystery and ghosts. One sunny day, James and Anna decided to explore an old abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town, which was said to be haunted. According to rumors, ghosts lived in this house. "Are you sure you want to go there?" Jamie doubted as they approached the overgrown gate. "Of course," Anna replied excitedly. "Maybe we'll find something interesting. Imagine if we solve the mystery of the old mansion." The mansion looked grim. Faded paint, peeling plaster, and broken windows created a gloomy atmosphere. Entering inside, they felt a chill and the musty smell of mold in the air. "Did you hear that?" Anna whispered as they passed the foyer. "Hear what exactly?" Jamie strained his ears. "It sounds like someone is crying." The sounds led them to a closed door at the end of the corridor. Jamie carefully turned the handle, and the door creaked open slowly. Inside, they saw a large, dusty room with portraits on the walls and antique furniture. In the corner stood a piano, and the sounds were coming from there. "Who's there?" Jamie asked quietly. A little girl appeared from behind the piano. She looked pale and frightened. "Help me," she whispered. "I can't find my way out." Jamie and Anna exchanged glances. The girl seemed real, but she shouldn't have been alone in this house. "What's your name?" Anna asked. "Emma," the girl replied. "I was looking for my mom but got lost." "We'll help you get out of here," Jamie said, approaching her. They took Emma by the hands and led her to the exit. When they stepped outside, the first rays of sunset lit their faces. "Thank you," Emma said, smiling. "Now I can go home." She let go of their hands and ran toward the forest, disappearing among the trees. Jamie and Anna stood, watching her go. "Do you think she was?" Anna began but didn't finish. "A ghost?" Jamie suggested. "Maybe. But we did a good deed." "Yes," Anna agreed. "It doesn't matter who she was. What matters is that we helped someone in need." And they slowly walked back to town, feeling a bit like heroes, even though they weren't sure what had just happened. But they knew for sure that this summer would be remembered forever. After all these adventures, the upcoming new school year didn't seem so daunting to the now more mature and grown-up Jamie. The summer spent with family and friends, filled with adventures with Anna, days on the film set, and quiet evenings at home, seemed to have imbued him with new strength and confidence. The premiere of his first film was the highlight of the summer. The cinema was packed, the audience whispered in anticipation, and the bright lights of the spotlights created a magical atmosphere. Anna, his girlfriend, sat next to him, holding his hand. Every time the action scenes unfolded on the screen, she would close her eyes and snuggle closer to Jamie. In those moments, he felt her heart pounding, which gave him courage. When the lights in the hall came back on, signaling the end of the film, Anna looked at Jamie, her eyes sparkling with pride and admiration. "You really acted very well. You did everything smoothly and without a hitch. I just can't understand how you weren't scared to act in such a movie." Jamie smiled, a hint of surprise in his eyes at her words. He pondered for a moment before answering. "You know, Anna, when you're standing in front of the camera, surrounded by a team of professionals, everything doesn't seem so scary. Each scene, each frame is the result of numerous rehearsals and preparation. And when the director shouts 'actor, get ready,' you just forget about the fear. You become your character, and he is no longer you." Anna nodded, trying to grasp his words. "I think I get it. It's like in a story, when you get into character, you start living your character's life," she said thoughtfully. Jamie nodded in agreement. "Exactly. And that helps me not feel scared. Besides, knowing that you're here, in the hall, supporting me, makes everything even easier." They walked out of the cinema, holding hands, under the starlit sky. Now that school and cinema were intertwined in his life, Jamie felt capable of overcoming any obstacles. And Anna's support only strengthened his confidence in himself and his abilities, allowing him to look to the future with hope and optimism. With the first rays of morning sun peeking through his room curtains, Jamie woke up with a sense of a new beginning. Today was special, the start of a new school year and his return to school after a summer spent on film sets and premieres. His film had hit the big screen and already won the hearts of viewers and critics. As he walked to school, Jamie imagined his classmates greeting him with applause or at least with admiration in their eyes. He expected everyone to be whispering, pointing at him as the newly minted star. However, when he stepped through the school doors, his expectations were shattered. There were no red carpets, no envious or admiring glances, everything was as usual. The school corridors buzzed with the usual noise and hustle of morning preparations for classes. Entering his classroom, Jamie felt his heart sink. No one even looked up to say hello. Everyone was engrossed in their conversations and textbooks. Only Anna, his old friend, gave him a sweet smile and waved him over. "Hi, Jamie, sit with me," she said quietly, making space at her desk. The lesson began as usual, but soon the teacher, Miss Garrett, went to the cupboard and took out a large shoe box. She slowly approached Jamie and handed him the box, saying, The kids decided to pitch in and buy you new boots. Jamie felt his face flush. He didn't know what to think, embarrassment mixed with surprise. For a moment, there was silence in the classroom, and then suddenly loud laughter erupted. One by one, his classmates started to come over, congratulating him on his successful film and patting him on the back. "I wasn't finished," the teacher interrupted, smiling. "The kids pitched in for new shoes in case you forget yours on the set again. They really wanted to do something nice for you. They loved the film and how you played your role in it. So, let these shoes stay here, just in case." Jamie felt his eyes fill with tears, not of sorrow, but of sudden realization and recognition. This moment became a revelation for him. Despite the lack of obvious signs of attention, his success and efforts had been noticed and appreciated. With this newfound understanding, he faced the rest of the day with a sense of belonging and confidence that in this school, within these walls, he had real friends and support. If you enjoyed the story, please support it with a like and a comment. All the best to you.